What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing tonight? It's another episode of A Father's Authority. I'm Nate Holloway, your host, and A Father's Authority is a part of Kingdom Relationships. For those of you who don't know, maybe tuning in for the first time, and our goal is to change the narrative on fatherhood, to stop fatherlessness, and bring the hearts of the fathers back into their children. And every other Monday, we do an interview with a great father and bring them on, and they just give you their wisdom on how they became a father, how they are as fathers. Well, we know how they became fathers, but how they are as fathers, and just some wisdom to help new dads and even seasoned dads become better fathers. And tonight, I have a great friend of mine. He's a pastor. He's an awesome bass player. He's a good friend. He's a husband. He's a girl dad. Um, and he's going to talk to you guys. And I have Pastor Alvin Georges on tonight. He's going to tell you. So let's get at it and bring Pastor Georges on. Pastor Alvin.
Hey, man. Pastor
How's
Nate.
it going?
I'm well. I'm well. I'm excited. I'm excited. Been waiting a long time for this.
Finally got you, man. Finally got
Finally.
you.
Yes, sir.
I'm so glad to have you on, man. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Alvin Georges. I'm a pastor. I'm a pastor now. I've been a PK all my life, so I've been raised in the church. Don't turn that off because we y'all know how PKs are, so I don't want y'all to put that stigma on me. But I just wanted to be
We
honest
were
there.
growing up together, so I'll tell
Yeah.
y'all some stories. Just hit me
Oh,
up.
don't do that. Don't do that. But I do love the Lord. I look like the path turned out well, where I am now full-time pastoring here in Chesapeake, Virginia. Married for going on 20 years. Yeah, man. Got three lovely girls, and they are growing up, man. Two teenagers, one preteen, a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 12-year-old. So yeah,
Wow.
we got to work. We got to work, and so I'm here tonight with you, man.
Man, so glad to have you. Now, I know this is fatherhood, but you say you've been married 20 years, man. That's awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Like I said, I knew you guys when you guys first started with marriage. And
Yeah,
you
and
guys are great friends of mine. But just real quick, what's a success tip for marriage? 20
man,
years. What's a success tip?
I know this sounds simple, but communication, communication, communication. More than just talking, but listening and understanding what's being communicated. That's been something, brother Nate, Pastor Nate, that I've had to learn the hard way. Had to learn the hard way.
Me too, man.
But
But we
yeah,
will that's be for the other podcast where we
yes,
get
sir.
on and talk
Yes,
about
sir.
that.
Yes,
But
sir.
so you say you have three girls.
Hmm.
So growing up, I know you had your dad in your life growing up. Tell
Yeah.
us, how was that growing up with your dad?
Oh man, I am one of the black men who can honestly say my father was there for me. And I'm grateful to say that because his father wasn't there for him. So that's
Okay.
even more impressive that he was able to stop that coming into raising his children, being there for them, even though he didn't have his model there for him the whole time. And he did an extraordinary job. My father, I would consider, didn't know it at the time, but we were a church family that my family, although church was a big part of our family, my
Mhm.
dad and mom, especially my dad, would put family first.
Okay.
So he was at every
That's good.
game, he was at every speech I had to do at school. I didn't miss out on those things because had to go to church. They were really balanced when it came to that. We were an enmeshed family, which, like I said, was remarkable because my dad didn't have that growing up. But every Friday we would go out to eat. We were the family that ate at the dinner table, and
Mhm.
he poured into us. He was the father that had spiritual moments with each of us throughout the week. He'll sit me down. I could see it clear as day. Call me from playing outside just to give me a word and sit there and
Oh
pray
wow.
for me. Yeah, that was my dad. Had a word, prayed with me, and sent me right on back out to play with my friends. And so even before he beat us, like when we got in trouble, this is no lie. Before he would beat us, we'd be there with our pants down. He would give us a sermon about our transgression and our consequence. And then he would go, and then he would work. You would think that after sitting through the sermon, he would have changed his mind, but nah, he followed through because he would always end the close was spare the rod and spoil the child. And so he did the altar call, of course, and we literally would have to get on our knees and ask God for forgiveness after the whooping. And
Wow.
he would hug us, tell us he loved us, and send us on. Sometimes it would be, the restriction. But yeah, that was my dad. That was my dad, and he passed about 5 years ago, so I miss him dearly. But he instilled so much in me that I'm carrying on his legacy.
Wow. Wow. So who's the oldest? You or Chris?
My brother Chris is the oldest. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, people get that mixed up because he's shorter than I am, but yeah, he's older.
Got you. Yeah, y'all look just alike, man.
That's
like
what everybody's
twins.
saying, bro. I don't see that.
I did. So, how did your dad, him raising you, how did that influence you and how you raise your girls as a father?
Oh, well, I don't know anything else. All I know is being there for my children because that's what I came through. And, I know you said that you do this, and let me just congratulate you, man, for this great work. The Father's Authority is so needed. Man, I appreciate you even for having me on, bro, to be a part of this because I hear so much about it, and it's empowering men to be there for their father. And I say that because it's when you are exposed to things like this and the principles, and like my dad was the model for me, it becomes natural. Like it becomes all it becomes the habit. And so that's what I was able to transfer into the generation for my children, because you typically are a creature of habit. You only do what you've been exposed to. So that's what I do with my girls. Now, I will have to say, my dad would get me to this day. I'm not, we've evolved where we're not doing as many Bible stories and at the dinner table doing Bible lessons and all that. And sometimes I feel guilty about that. But as far as being there for them, I value family dearly. That's number one for me.
That's good.
And I know I got that from my father. Yeah.
That's good, man. You said something powerful. You said you've made it a habit. And I love that you say that because a lot of times we don't make fatherhood a habit. We don't make it a habit to be present with our kids. We don't make it a habit. We make it a habit of going to work. We make it a habit of reaching for success, but we don't make it a habit of fathering our children to make sure that our children and our family comes first. I make it a habit that when I get home, the first thing I do is I put my bag down and I look at my son and I say, you know what time it is? He said, huggy time. He give me a hug. I jump on, I hug him. I tell him how much I love him. I spend time with him. It's a habit. As we were talking before we came on, it's a habit that Saturdays are his day to spend time with him. And I love how you said that because I never thought about it like that till you said it, that we got to make it a habit and make fatherhood a habit with our children. And if we do that, then it becomes second nature.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Now, for me, it was easier because the habit was my context of growing up. But as you were saying that, it's like any habit. And I was thinking about that as you were saying it. Habits can be formed, but you just have to be consistent. There's this period where you have to be very intentional about it. You got to really put the work in to develop that habit of fatherhood. And then eventually it becomes, like you said, that second nature. It becomes easier.
Yep. Once you commit to it, then you won't have a problem with doing it. Right. Awesome, man. So what does fatherhood mean to you?
I believe fatherhood, to me, the first thing that comes to my mind is legacy, man. It's being able to transfer, whether it's knowledge, wisdom, wealth. I believe every man, every father has something to pass down. And you created little ones to carry that torch, into the next generation. So the legacy for me is what fatherhood means.
That's good. That's good. And you said you believe every father has something to pass
Hmm.
down. I think that's what a lot, especially new dads and dads who may not think they can do it, need to know that there's
Yeah.
something you got. We're passing
Yeah.
something down to our kids, whether it's negative
Yeah.
or whether it's positive. You're passing
Yeah.
something now. And but I believe that all fathers have something they can
Yes.
pass down to
Yes.
their children. And even, especially when you're a new dad, because I know you could probably relate when your first child was born. You're like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Right.
My whole
Right.
thing was, Lord, I need you to show me how to raise my son because I don't know. I didn't have a model. I had, I
Hmm.
had, I had a, I had a model with my godfather. I didn't have a model in the home. I didn't have a
Hmm.
model of what it's like, what you do when you wake up when they're crying and you need to comfort them when they're going through doubtful things, believing they can't do something. You got to tell them that they can, pump them up and tell them they can as a child, as a
Yes.
5-year old. And
Yes.
and those things when they're going through stuff at school in kindergarten, these kids go through stuff in bullying in kindergarten, man.
My
It's
God.
crazy.
Right.
Preschool, but when they're going through stuff like that, knowing how to comfort them and impart that wisdom into them. But then once you start doing, you realize that you do have something to
You
give
have
because
it.
the things start coming out of you, and you're
Yeah.
like, man, I told him that. And if you just
Right.
start talking through life experience, and dads that are listening and watching, I want you to know that through your life experiences, you do have something that you can pass down to your children. Experience is something that you can pass down to your children. And they say what's experience is the best teacher.
Yeah.
That's something you
Yeah.
can do because you can tell your
Right.
child what not to do
Yeah.
because
Right.
you did it.
Yep. And
And so
our kids, like you said, like, you can't just think that they're learning everything from school. They're not just learning everything from whatever teams they're on. There are gaps that only fathers can fill in for their
mhm,
children, that they will need those nuggets to survive emotionally, to cope emotionally, to live even economically, financially. Like, there are principles that only a father can give. Why? Because I believe that children have receptors. You ever you ever had a kid that people could tell, and this is how we were growing up. People could tell you the same thing over and over again. You don't get it, but there's that one
uh-huh,
person that says it, and it'll stick. And I think
yep,
fathers have that. God has anointed fathers to have those nuggets that will only stick to our children because we were assigned to give them. So,
mhm,
so the jokes, and don't hold back. Don't think what you have is minimum. Don't think that it's less than, that is not going to make an impact. It don't have to be super deep. Your time is teaching. Like, that's what my father taught me. Just being there was a
mhm,
lesson that they can't get it. They can't get that from school. They're not gonna be able to get that, from no one else. They got to get that from a father. And just, with my girls, come on, man. All the girl dads out there, we as men, we have to teach them something that only their father has the anointing. And I use that word. So I told you I'm a PK, but that just means we the only ones that have that ability, that effect, to give them those lessons. I don't want them to learn it from some dude in their class, about how a man is supposed to treat you and what you can expect from a man. That needs to come from me.
right, right. And one
Mhm.
thing I've learned about girl dads is that, and you could confirm this, is that girl dads have to be specific and calculated and strategic on what they say to your daughters, how you discipline your daughters, and how you talk to them, because how you talk to them is how they're going to allow another man to talk to them. So if you're
Yes.
disciplining your daughter and you're always, one thing I've learned, children in general, you have to know when it's time
Mhm.
for a whipping, when it's time for a talk,
Mhm.
and how to discipline your children. But especially for daughters, if you're always whipping your daughter,
Mhm.
then they
Mhm.
equate that as
Mhm.
love, especially if you're saying
Mhm.
that my dad loves
Right.
me. and then
Right.
they'll accept that from a guy. Am I right?
Right. Yeah, that's totally right. So when I grew up, it was me, my brother, and we had a younger sister. We got a younger sister, and we could not understand why she would not get beaten. Like if we got in trouble, it was no, it was no question. He getting the belt, he going at us. But when it came to her, it's like she always got off easy. What's up with that? Well, it's a different dynamic. And now I understand because I actually was
Mhm.
trying to bring that same, same approach into my family with my girls. When they got in trouble, I wanted, okay, they're gonna get disciplined because all I got is girls. And then my wife had to let me know, hold on, no, you can't treat girls like that. Because although
Mhm.
you think you coming at them as a father, you are actually shaping their perspective of a man. And so if
Mhm.
you come at them with that type of approach of physical, discipline, then they're going to equate that with relationship of someone that they're supposed to be connected to. And now,
Mhm.
they're going to be, and we hear the stories about it. You got women that can't leave men because they're abusive and they're making excuses for abusive men. And then you got men that are
I think I lost your connection for a second. Guys, we do have some technical difficulties sometime, but Alvin, if you can hear me, just come back on. But guys, Alvin's gonna come back once we get him. But we're talking about how important it is for a father to uh, speaking to his daughter, and as he was saying, his wife says a different dynamic when you're raising your girls, because as a dad, when you're telling your daughters that you love them, but you're always it's always a physical discipline, then what'll happen is they will take that and equate that to as far as love from a man. Alvin, are you back? He'll be back. I know he's gonna come back, but yeah, they'll equate that to love of a man. But dad, you got to be calculative, if that's a word. That's a word tonight on here. You got to be calculated and strategic about how you speak to your daughter, even your sons. When I speak to my son, I'm very strategic on the things I say to him, what I say, because I know he's going to take that in, and then he's going to give that back out, is what he's going to give back on how I speak to him. So I tell him that he's great. I tell him he can do anything. I tell him how I'm proud of him. I'm always telling him that I'm proud of him. I'm always telling him that I love him. I'm always telling him that he can do anything. I'm always telling him how how great he is and how much he can do. And he takes that. He believes that. So your children believe that, and they can do the Alvin's back. So uh let me bring him in. There you go, man.
oh my God, what in the world?
It's all good, man. That's technical difficulties. That's part of uh
Oh,
this stuff. So man, we got you back. So that's all that matters. So let me
good.
ask you, what's
Mhm.
the best part of being a father?
Oh, it's gonna sound so simple, but I like taking care of my kids.
Okay.
Um, I like that they can see me as someone that they can rely on, that they need. And I think that might be just a man thing too. One of the needs of man is to feel needed.
Hmm.
And I get that from my kids. They and my wife, what you said, a father. So my kids, the fact that they the fact that they need me, and I might give them a hard time. Dad, can I have $1? Dad, can I have $5? Dad, I need this for that. I'm like, man, you always ask me for money, but deep inside, I'm like, I'm glad you're coming to me, because there's something about me that feels natural to be your provider, to be the person you need to meet those type of needs,
Yeah.
and I like that part of fatherhood. I really do. I like to feel
Especially
needed.
having girls, man, because
Yeah,
you're setting that expectation
yeah,
for the guy they
yeah,
date, for the
yeah.
guy they're gonna marry. You're
Hmm.
setting the expectation that this is what you accept and this is what you
Yeah,
don't accept.
right, right.
And He
Right.
can't step to them. He ain't gonna be able to step to them and be like, well, I can do this for you. They were like, oh, my dad already did that. Well, what you got next?
Exactly. Yeah, so I'm setting that standard. Yep. So
Setting
I
that
might be the
standard.
guy. It's gonna be hard for me to let that go and let somebody else fill that space. But I know that's what their husbands are supposed to do, their boyfriends are going to do. But
Ah.
I might have to transition that kicking and screaming, bro.
So you don't think you can let it go easy, man?
Not easy, not easy, not easy. It's gonna be
I can see
tough,
you now
man,
walking down the aisle crying, boo-hooing.
brother. And I got 3 of them. So I told them when y'all get married, y'all gonna all have to get married together. I ain't crying but one time. So y'all gonna have one wedding. y'all can get engaged when y'all want, but it's gonna be one date. So
Uh, so this
yeah.
question is just popped up. So I want to ask
Okay.
you this. So as a father of girls,
Mm,
how do you handle the boys? Did
yeah.
them talking about dating and how do you handle that? I want
I
to
mean,
know.
I I think my girls are either really good or I'm just really blessed to not have to have I haven't had that issue yet. They don't
Okay.
have any boyfriends. I hadn't had any guys come through. Um I think I'm balanced with that though. I'm gonna be involved. I'm gonna make sure they know I see what's going on.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think I'll be overbearing. I think I need to as part of me being a father that needs to help assist them with learning relationships. And
Okay.
that's the way I look at it. Like, I don't want them to be the person that I covered and protected and what is smothered this whole time. And then when they
Mhm.
get to college, you know what happened to those girls? They go buck wild.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I ain't trying to do that. So that's what I say, okay, let me back off a little bit. Let me guide these relationships that they're having. Like my youngest one, he's the one that's mostly, into boys. That I hear more from her than anybody. And I tell her, you don't have no boyfriend. It seems like every month she got a boyfriend, or somebody she like. And I'm like, did you hear me? You ain't supposed to have a boyfriend. But for her, I give her some space. I try to keep it open so she can talk to me. And I take pride in those moments where I can share with them. And y'all might take my man card, but I got to tell my daughter some of the codes
You
from the
got
player's
to, man.
book.
You got to.
Yeah, I got to let them know this is what they do at this age, and this is what you need to look for, and all of that, so that they are informed. Yeah.
And I think even with our sons, I think, and it's not even with not telling them like the things like the player moves to show
Mm-hmm.
them how to do it, but to
Mm-hmm.
show them what they shouldn't do
Right. Right.
and to
Right.
show them how to use I take this how to use their powers for good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for that one, because they could get out there, and if we tell them, if you do this, son, this is what's going to do to the
What's
young
going in?
lady.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when I realized, I had this guy tell me one time, and this is how God blessed me, man, to have men of wisdom come into my life. This guy came into my life just for a 5-10 minute conversation, and it
Mm-hmm.
blessed me.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, it was me and my college roommate. We was talking to some girls at a food line,
Uh-huh.
and he came up to us and he said, y'all got a pocket full of D's. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, you got a pocket full of D's. I'm like, what? He said, you got the deed to that girl's heart in your back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
He said, that deed belongs to the man she's supposed to marry. He said,
Mm.
and every woman that you guys have been with, you guys have slept with, you guys are holding on to something they cannot give to the man they're supposed to marry.
Mm.
He said, and you need to give it back to them so they
Mm.
can be with the
Mm.
man that God called them to be with. I don't know this man from Adam. I don't know where he
Brother.
came from. He just walked up on us in food line, and that hit me, man. And I was
Yeah.
like, that got me to thinking about all the things I was doing
Mm.
with these women, and I started
Yeah.
thinking, man, that
Yeah.
ain't right.
You're right.
That
Right.
ain't
That's
right.
good. That's good.
Anyway, and it made me start changing and
Right.
start. It took me a while to change, but
Right. Right.
it
Of
made me
course.
start changing.
Yeah, that's the player book. piece that I be telling my girls, like they gonna change eventually, but don't be
Yeah.
caught up in that stage before they change, you know.
Right. Yeah. And
Right.
they gotta be honest because if they allow him to do it, a man will only do what you allow him to do.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
why I tell single women, a man will only do what
What you
you
allow.
allow him to do. If you
Yep.
allow him to do it, he's going to do it. And fathers, that's one thing you teach your daughter. I have to teach my
Yeah.
son that when he gets
Right.
older, that they're going to do what you allow them to do, son. So if it's
Right.
the
Right.
wrong thing, you
Yep.
got to be careful.
You
And,
gotta be
and there are
careful.
consequences to that. But so that changed my paradigm
That's good.
as it was, think like relating to women and how I treated them, and I had to go on Norfolk State campus looking differently at it. Now I was thinking I lived right by ODU and I was going to Norfolk State, and I
Right.
was
Right.
like, I had to start
Yeah.
thinking about this thing and that, and then as I got older
Mm.
and I started wanting to get married and I
Mhm.
started wanting to prepare for marriage, then my
Mhm.
mind started shifting. And that thing that
Mhm.
guy said was stuck in my head. And the things my
Mm.
godfather would say,
Mm.
he'd be like, son, you do this gonna have me do that. This is how you're supposed to treat him. And then all that stuff started coming back. And I
Mhm.
started
Mhm.
shifting and I started changing. And when I started getting prepared, then my wife came out of nowhere.
There you go.
And then God blessed me with a great wife. And so
Yeah.
because of the things I was taught, and guys, I know y'all probably wonder what it has to do with fatherhood. It has a lot to do with fatherhood because we're talking about Alvin and his
Right.
daughters, raising
Right.
daughters,
Right.
teaching daughters. These are things we have to teach our kids
Right. Right.
about because as we grew up, we're told as men, if you don't have a lot of girlfriends, you're not a man. You know,
That.
all
Yep.
sorts of stuff like
Yep.
that. Where your
Yep.
girlfriend at, boy? You got a girlfriend? You got a
Yeah.
girlfriend?
Yep.
But
Yep.
we're doing our sons a disservice by teaching them that.
Right. Right. But
Because
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
But no, I was just saying, I think, part of the natural way of developing as a young man is having relationships, even with my girls.
Yeah.
I don't think we go to the extreme and say y'all can't date, you
Right.
can't socialize, because you got to learn some things that you're gonna only learn when you experience it. Like you said, experience is the best teacher. But I think our jobs, like you just said, is putting those parameters in place. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, we know you're gonna be out there, but keep this in mind.
Yeah.
Who you mess with may not be your wife. That's somebody else's wife. That's great. That's a great nugget. So now I know. And even when I was doing youth ministry, I was teaching our kids the best practices of socializing, like,
Mhm.
how to kick game to a girl. Like, I was giving them steps on how to kick game, and it had nothing to do with sex. It had nothing to do with
Good.
being perverted. It was like, listen, these are some ways that and I gave a list of conversation starters. You
Mm.
know, talk about this, use these, if you I would give them stuff like, tell her if you were a rose or if you were a flower, what kind of flower would you be? And then ask her why she would choose that. Because really the only reason why, kids go to the sexual stuff is because they don't have nothing else to talk about. Like
That's
that's
good.
like
Yeah.
the thing that they go to when they don't have nothing else to talk about. It's sex, sex, sex. Plus their hormones are already there. So that's the thing that's before them. But if I can show them that really in that moment, you just trying to talk, you trying to socialize, you trying to get to know somebody, you trying to connect with them. Some guys trying to hit, I
Yeah.
say that, but let me show you how to avoid just going straight to that and give you some other options here that
Right.
will that will make that moment just as much fun and safe if you know how to just guide conversation. So, my point here is just, I think as a father, I'm not trying to shield them from those experiences, just trying to give them tools so that they develop the best way, the most efficient way they can. So when they go into getting married, they can make the right choice.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Awesome. So with that being said, how important are fathers' words to his children?
Oh, very important. Very important. I think beyond the words, there's a voice. And I'm
Mm.
starting to really know this. Like, there is a program in a father's voice. We know it's in mothers as well, because you can be in a crowded room and hear your mom's voice and
Yeah.
just like there's something in you. Well, it's the same thing with fathers. There's a frequency I don't want to sound too deep, but there is a familiarity, a connection that a father has in his voice, that when he
That's good.
speaks, it speaks to something in your children. It triggers something, it gets the attention. And so that, and I say that because so many times we want to focus on the words, and men are not good with words. we just we just not good with communication. So if we got to talk to our children about something serious, we like, all right, listen, this is what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, and put that, do that together. And sometimes that discourages us. But I'm here. I want every man to know that more than what you are saying, it's your voice that is most valuable in that moment. It's the tone, it's your frequency that's transferring, and your voice is communicating that you are interested, that you are there, that you are available for them, that you're present for them. That's something that words can't ever express, no matter what the topic is. So don't beat yourself up that you're not getting the words right. You are transferring your voice. And that right there is what will steer and direct them more than what you think the eloquence of your speech will. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. And we can even go, like you said, don't go deep, but sometimes you have to go deep, like the voice of God.
Yeah, of course.
It's in us. And
Yeah.
that father, like I said, because your father's voice goes in you, because our
Yeah.
voice goes into their future, because
Yeah.
they're gonna hear things that we say to them as they get older. Well,
Yep.
dad said this, when they're about to make a decision. Because like my godfather now, I'm about to make decisions on things, and I hear his voice. I
Yeah.
hear what he would
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
and I hear,
Hear what you just said. What he would say, even
yeah,
if he didn't say it, his
yeah,
voice, you match it with what he would have said in a
uh-huh.
situation like this.
Yep,
That's the power of the voice, man. Like
yeah,
it gives you direction even beyond you living. Like it carries forth even in future events. That's powerful.
yeah, it is, man, and I love it. And even goes back to the Bible days. Their
Hmm.
father's voice, the words of their father was
Hmm.
instrumental into what they were going to do.
Yes, sir.
In their
Yep.
life. The father's
Yep.
words, his voice said whether
Hmm.
they were going to be rich, whether they were going to be
Hmm.
successful, whether they were going to
Hmm.
be a jokester or trickster.
Yep.
When he
Yep.
named
Yep.
them,
Yep.
things like that, to the point where what's his name? Not in the
Jacob.
Bible, John the Baptist, when
John.
his dad's voice was silenced, was
Hmm.
John the Baptist, right? His
Yeah. Right. That's
God,
right. That's right. Yep.
he shut his
The
father's
priest. Yeah.
mouth.
Zachariah. Yep.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
because he wasn't going to say the right thing. Because
Hmm.
if he had a said
Hmm.
what he was thinking and his doubt, then that baby would have been what he
Right.
said.
That's good.
It,
That's
and
good.
so
That's real
God
good,
had to
Pastor.
shut his mouth, and he
Right.
was shut. He couldn't talk for 9 months,
That's
because that's
amazing.
how the importance of the father's voice, man.
That's
That is
amazing.
awesome.
That is
And
awesome. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's so good.
So like you said, and I because this thing is hot right now. It's a hot topic right there. But that's why, once again, don't feel pressured to say the right things.
Right.
And sometimes a lot of fathers could just lead in with, you know what, I don't even know what to say. I don't know the right words to say. Sometimes that alleviates the pressure, and just sitting there and say, but I'm just going to speak from my heart.
Mhm.
And you giving that disclaimer will make so much of an impact. They'll forgive you for you not having the right, sentence structure, even when you
Right.
come out your mouth raw. It is not about what you are particularly saying in that moment. It's your voice.
It's your
I can't,
voice.
yeah, it's your voice. Yeah.
That's so good, man. That'll
Yeah.
preach too, Doc.
Yeah, it would. It would. Yeah, yeah. No, that's good.
so, uh, so let me ask you, Alvin, what's the
Uh,
best piece of advice you've received from your dad?
Man, he had this saying, he would say that a wise son always looks ahead.
Mm,
A wise son. And that thing sticks with me to this day, because what he was sharing with me, of course, I didn't understand it then, but I apply it to my life. Like, don't just see yourself in this moment right here. look ahead. What you're doing right now, how will it make an impact later? How
Mm.
will what you're doing right now affect? And even in the moment, what are the effects for what you are doing? Look ahead. And it taught me, that statement there taught me to prepare. That statement taught me to not beat myself up too bad in the moment, because there's a
Mm.
future, and sometimes there are things that happen in the present that you don't understand, but realize that there are future implications that are coming that'll make this present moment more clear to you. So it has me forward thinking. It has me thinking ahead. Sometimes I think too much ahead, where my wife has to bring me back, into the present. But I think it's a great saying that he gave me. A wise son always looks ahead. That's wisdom.
That's good. That's good. I
Yeah.
love that,
Mhm.
man. And that I'm gonna use that one. I'm
Yeah.
definitely
Look
use that
ahead.
one. That's
Yep.
good because
Yeah.
that takes you into that's a proverb.
Yeah,
that's
right.
that's
Yeah. He would
a
instill
proverb.
that. It is. It is. Yep.
That's good.
Yeah.
Um, so let me ask, how do you use that with your daughters? Let's take that now into
Yeah.
a
What?
dad,
How am I
dad,
applying? Yeah.
girl dad.
Well, it's hard, and like it was for me, it's hard to get teenagers to look ahead. They are so present minded. They don't even see life in the future too much. You ever ask a teenager, what do you want to be in the future? They give you either they're gonna give you this unrealistic idea, or most of them will tell you, I don't know. But with my girls, I just have to continue to think ahead for them right now,
Okay.
until they develop that muscle of doing it for themselves. And they're getting it. I see my oldest daughter, she's planning for college. Um, and I don't have to work too hard with that, because they are pretty much showing, like I said, college. My other daughter, she's working toward a career in filming, and I can see her getting her feet wet with that.
Okay.
um so I could see the glimmer of those type of things, and I try to make that happen for them. Of course, in the day to day, if you see the trash or the dishes there, think about how you're going to play out your day, so that you don't get caught up at the end of the day with all this stuff. Those are kind of
Got you.
practical, in the
Okay.
moment ways that I'm trying to steer them into doing that. Yep.
That's good. That's good. I love it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, what's an important piece of advice you've given to your children, other than I know what the piece of
Yeah.
advice your dad gave you? I believe that's peace, but what's
Uh-huh.
an important piece of advice from you that
Mm.
you've given to your children?
Man, I don't know. I think everything I tell them is important, but we know that ain't realistic. What have I been telling my daughters that I think is important for them? I
I know
gotta
you
go
got
back.
a ton of it, ton of it.
Well, I gotta go back to the boys. Because I keep telling them, don't rush to get into an exclusive relationship. Like,
Mm,
I know, especially with girls, they are so quick, because they're emotional, to lock something down. I love him. I'll never forget, my daughter came home one day, and she was like, this boy, like, now listen to this game. This guy tells my daughter, while she in like the fifth grade, fourth, fifth grade, he tells her, hey, I'm seeing somebody right now, but when I get done with her, I'm gonna hook up with you. and,
wow.
and Nate, she comes home excited, like, I'm next, I'm next, I'm next. I said, baby, hold on, wait a minute, wait, hold on. And so I had to let her know that this is the stage that guys go through. They are
Mhm.
going to experiment. They are going, because for us, it ain't as heart connected. Like, we
Right.
just going off of instinct, getting the girl here, just
It's
whatever
a
we see.
challenge for us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just want to hook up and make it happen. And then when we get done, we're going somewhere else, because that's where we are, especially at this stage. Love ain't hit us yet.
Right.
But love has hit these girls like so early. And so I got to let them know, whoever you get with right now, we talking fifth, sixth, seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, listen, they ain't out of that stage, the exploratory stage yet. And so
Even
don't think that,
college.
right, that's true, even in college.
In
So
college.
don't think you're gonna lock something down. It's not exclusive. So if you're gonna hook up with somebody, be friends, y'all can go out, but don't think that's your husband. You know what I'm saying? Not at this stage. And so I think that's something I gotta continue to drill into them so they don't get hurt, man.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I don't want you hurting nobody.
brother.
Man, let me tell you. So when my wife was pregnant with Caleb, before we knew we were having a boy, I was
Uh-huh.
praying for a boy first. For
Uh-huh.
one, because I wanted a son, but two, because I would tell everybody I was afraid to have a girl because I knew one day she was gonna run into somebody like I used to be when I
Uh-huh.
was at Norfolk State and all. So I knew that she was gonna meet that guy
Uh-huh.
that
Yeah.
I used to be, and that guy, what I was gonna have to hurt him. You know,
Yes, sir.
I was gonna have to hurt him.
Yeah,
Because that
man.
guy was like you said, that guy was slick with his words,
Yeah, man.
and and I was like, but the thing is, that guy went for the women that didn't have fathers
Mm-hmm.
because he didn't have to work as
Yep.
hard. He could charm
Yep.
the mother,
Yep. Yep.
and don't worry about. But so
Yep.
I would.
Yep.
I had a little piece there because I was gonna be there in her life, and he wouldn't be able to charm me. But I
Right,
was
right,
like,
right,
no,
right.
I'm scared to have a girl. My wife and then people had to tell me, don't be afraid. You
Right.
just gotta teach her.
Mm-hmm.
How to do what's right. But then when I found
Right.
out was having a boy, I was like,
Yes.
yes. Yes.
Yeah. You're
But then I
right.
realized that I got to teach him what not to do.
Yeah. Ain't that funny, man? Men are so eager to have boys than they are girls because I guess I guess they feel like it's scarier with girls. Like you don't want them to meet you.
Right.
You don't want them to. So you're more on edge, man. I wanted a girl first. I
Oh,
wanted a
really?
daughter first. Yeah, I
Oh,
wanted a
wow.
daughter. Of course, I just wanted a daughter first, and I wanted a son after that. But you see what God did for me, got me 3 girls. Um, but I didn't have that fear that most men have with their daughters, that, oh my God, I got to shield them because I don't want nobody to treat them, hurt them and things of that nature. I, I always wanted to make my girls, you remember coming up in school, Pastor Nate, there was always that girl that you couldn't spit the regular game to. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it was that girl that you knew, okay, I can't come at her. That's how I wanted to make my girls. Like I wanted to make them the girl that guys had to say, you know what, I'm gonna wait on her. Cause you
Right.
know what I'm saying? Cause I know I can't, like you said, I can't get to her like I get to everybody else. So that was my mission. That was my motivation. So instead of running from it and being scared that, oh my God, what's gonna happen? I leaned into having these girls. And I'm now, trying to instill into them so that they become that girl.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Y'all hear that, dads? Don't
Yeah.
run from it.
Don't run.
Lean into it.
Lean into it. Yeah.
Lean
Lean
into
into it.
it.
Yep.
And instill them and make them that way you don't have to get you a piece of shotgun and all this stuff.
Right. Right.
And I know Alvin probably still got a shotgun
I
for you.
still not a shotgun. I got something. I'm gonna work my way up to the shotgun. I still got something. Yep. That's plan B, right?
Plan B, right, right.
Yeah.
This is good, Alvin. So before we end tonight, I
Uh,
always like to give you an opportunity to speak to dads out there. Whether you prophesy over them, whether you pray for them, whether you give them a word of wisdom. So this is you, however you feel led to do it. Take a couple minutes and just talk to the dads out there and just impart something into them.
Well, I just first want to start with encouraging every man out there who's been blessed to have children. Listen, because society, if you let them tell it, they tearing us down. They saying the odds are against us, and we ain't there. We not present. We don't know what we talking about. Sometimes even in the home when we with in the home, I know with my wife, sometimes I feel a little intimidated because they are naturally maternal and nurturers and know how to do this parenting thing with kids.
Yeah.
And so, but I want to encourage every male, every father, you got this, man. You got this. Like, you are assigned for this. And if you have children, my father would always tell me too, he would say that because sometimes people worry about having kids. He said, if God blesses you with children, he's going to bless you with the resources for those children. He's always going to give you what those children need. He's never going to give you children without giving you what is needed for those children. And if you have children, you're needed for those children. And so count yourself selected by God and equipped by God to pour into them what they need for a successful life. Don't run from it, lean into it. And trust me, even when you feel inadequate, you are hitting the mark. Just being there is hitting the mark. Everything else is going above and beyond. Trust me.
Mm.
Just getting involved is the least, is hitting the mark. You getting 100, just getting involved, just taking the time to say something. Whatever you say at that point, if it is at all, at any point valuable, you have gone over and beyond. So don't make it hard. Don't make it complicated. You've been chosen for this. You've been selected for this. And you will see the more that you do it, just how you might not get the reinforcement now, but be consistent. Because, like my father says, a good person always looks ahead. Eventually, it's going to be your daughter, your son that stands on the platform. It's going to be your child that stands with the mic to let everybody know my father was there for me. I love them. They're going to come back and they're going to give you the grade that you knocked it out the park. So be encouraged, every father out there. You doing it. You got this. It'll make a huge impact.
Wow. Awesome, man. Awesome. Alvin, man. I'm so thankful for you coming on tonight, man, for those words of wisdoms, the laughter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always when we get together, man, it's always good. But guys, those of you that are watching, I want to thank you for coming on. And before we go, I always want to give you the opportunity for any dads that are watching, anybody that's watching. I want to give you the opportunity tonight. If you don't know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, I want to give you the opportunity to receive him tonight, because he is the key to becoming the father, the mother, the child, the son, the daughter that you're called to be. So if you don't know him tonight, just point your hand to your computer screen, your phone, or whatever you're watching. If you're just listening on this podcast, just lift your hands and repeat after me. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, I am a sinner. Forgive me for my sins. Help me to live this life for you. Live in me as I live for you. Help me to walk out this life of salvation. Thank you for forgiving me and for saving me. Help me to be the father, the mother, the son, the daughter, the person that you called and created me to be. In Jesus' name, amen. If you prayed that prayer, you are saved. And what we want you to do is you can email us at hello@kingdomrelationships.org. We want to help you get some materials on help you walk out this life. If you need prayer for anything, we want to pray with you. We just want to help you. If you have questions, we want to answer them for you, help you walk out this life. And if you have any questions on fatherhood, any questions on being a parent, just reach out to us. You can also come back to this podcast, this episode. You can see this on our website at kingdomrelationships.org. We got a new website coming, so you guys will be able to see it on a new website soon. You can go to our YouTube page. You can also hear the podcast on iTunes, on all your Spotify, Google Play, all your podcast channels. Well, need you guys to do something for me. I need you guys to follow us at Kingdom Relationships. I need you guys to subscribe on YouTube, and need you guys to subscribe on a podcast on iTunes, and let everybody know where they can come to get some wisdom on being a father and being successful. Guys, thank you. And until next time, be victorious.